Slow robot, okay. Hi, everybody. Today I'm going to continue talking about how to um, break free from creative blocks. And this time we're going to get into some more specific like things that you can try um, to do that. Um, and so I have my guitar here. I got my keyboard over here, and we're going to get into it. But let me just kind of set the stage here. So a lot of the things that I'm going to be talking about in these videos about how to take concrete steps to like techniques on how to break out of creative boxes. It's going to be around pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone. And so what I mean by that isn't like it's physically uncomfortable to do it. It means just pushing you past the things that you might normally do when you pick up a particular instrument. For instance, like if I'm picking up a guitar, um, my thing when I first pick up a guitar, I'm always playing in right in this position. Like that's just what I do. And so it's something that I know that I do, and I can counteract that because I know I do it. Um, so pushing myself out of that comfort zone, which is to start there, would be to maybe just shift up a little bit and start in a different position on the neck. Um, and so that's just an example of how you can, being aware of um, what you tend to do when you're making music is important so that you can not do that. Assuming if you want to do it that way, that's fine. Obviously, you can lean into the stuff that you're good at, but um, helpful to know when you do stuff like that so you can push yourself away from it when you want to. But what I'm going to talk about today specifically is changing the physical notes that you have available, or not have available, but changing the way that the notes are configured on whatever instrument you have in order to force yourself out of that comfort zone of picking up a like I'm if I try and play like I think a pentatonic shape on a normal standard tuned guitar, which this isn't new standard tuning. The pentatonic shape would play like this. And it sounds terrible here because it's a different tuning. And so the point is going to be that it forces me to think differently. It forces me into physical. I have to physically change the types of shapes that I use with my hands, and in order to play, things. I can't play things comfortably like the way that I used to. I can't just play the same kind of licks and stuff that I would normally play and expect to get the same result because everything's tuned very differently than I'm used to. And so that's very useful because it forces me to, like I said, think differently about what I'm doing, and it, it exposes me to different voicings and sounds that I'm normally used to. Um, so what I have here on the screen is this is a new kind of song that I've been working on. It's just a groove at this point with a couple of some guitar parts and some some keyboard parts and drums. Um, let's take a quick listen to it. I'll just show you the basic groove. It's like I said, pretty simple. Here it goes. And so you got drums, bass, and then some strings. I actually have a complex one later on in this song, which I'm actually going to mute because I find that interferes with the video recording. For some reason, it glitches out when that's playing. But it's really just playing the same thing basically that the strings are playing anyway, so it's not really crucial for you to hear that at this point. But so basically, what I did is, I had that loop there created. I came up with the drum, or I came up with the synth part first, the string part first. I ran it through um, a player of some sort. That's stuff I'll show you later. I don't even know where this is, but yeah, I ran it through chords, scales, and chords so that I figured out that when I was playing the melody, if I figured out that it was in D flat major, so I've just added that into the chord detect, or the scales and chords here, and use that to kind of make it, a little bigger. Put some chords in there instead of just the single notes that I was playing. So then from there, I came up with that beat you heard, and I ran the beat through another player. So this one is actually doing note echo. So when you do let's go down to it's just descending with the repeats. So I was playing it with just a couple of notes, and then you hit a tom, and it automatically kind of adds a tom fill. So that was another thing that I did that kind of creatively helped build the groove a little bit. And then from there, it's like, okay, what do I want to do? I want to pull out my newly tuned guitar. It's a new standard tuning again, very different than what I'm used to. I don't know the notes on the neck. I can maybe figure out some of the notes on the open strings, but I already forgot a lot of those. But the point is to use your ears, right? And so you got to figure out, like, well, I can't use my normal fingerings. I can't use my normal licks and stuff that come naturally to me at this point. So I have to listen to what is coming out of the speakers. So the groove and the synth part, or the string part and all that, and adapt my playing to that. So I'll show you what I did for this kind of the main guitar part here. And so this is also on the new standard tune. So that's that's something I would never have been able to come up with on a standard tuned guitar. Very different. I mean, it probably sounds similar to some of the stuff that I've written on a standard tuned guitar before, because that's just how my brain works. I tend to gravitate towards certain things, but again, the shapes and the available notes and where they are is different. So it's forcing me to play things in a little bit different way than I ever would normally. So another thing that I did here is, and I do have it recorded, but it's not in this section. But so this other thing, again, I came up with this last night on the guitar, just as kind of an augmentation for that part that we just heard, that guitar part that we just heard. And so this is just very outside, like, the normal kind of melodic stuff that I tend towards, but it's because it's very dissonant and weird, but I think it really fits and sounds great. And this is how it sounds on its own. sounds really weird by itself, but when you put it in context with the rest of the song here, so you can hear it just adds this weird kind of counterpoint to what's already there. And, again, it's forces me out of that kind of comfort zone, into playing some weird thing that I couldn't even physically play that on a standard tuned guitar. I'm quite sure. But that's basically the idea is like, I'm taking this thing that I'm very familiar with, this guitar. I'm familiar with the neck. I know how to play notes. I know how to play chords. But when I change the tuning, it forces me outside of what I'm used to. And I can really start to explore different sounds and things that I normally can't, because I just don't have access to them. So that's how I would use that for like a guitar. Now, set this over here. You can also do this with other instruments. So any stringed instrument that would work really well with, you can just retune it. The only thing you have to be aware of is, if you're doing it on a stringed instrument, you may have to have a setup done or learn how to do a setup yourself. I had to set that up myself. It's because it just changes the tension of the neck so drastically. But as long as you're aware of that and you get it set up, you can try, just changing the tuning, and it's going to really help you kind of find ways outside of the things that you're used to. But you can also do it for keyboards, especially in Reason. I'm sure you can probably do it in other DAWs as well. But I know you can do it in Reason because I just proven that to myself this morning. And so I'm going to show that. Before we do that, though, one thing to note is obviously that's going to be a little more difficult if you are playing an instrument that doesn't have alternate abilities to tune. So, like, if you're playing a saxophone, it's going to be, I think they're B flat or something generally. The most common ones are like B flat saxophone or something like that. You're not going to be able to really change the tuning of a saxophone or woodwinds or brass or any kind of that kind of stuff. So, it's limited in what you can do, but obviously you could find a different woodwind to play or something if you want to try that, and you have the money for it. But anyway, so you can do that with keyboards in Reason. So the way that you can there's a couple of ways you can do it. The first is just a simple transposition, and you can do that with a player called the Note Echo, which comes stock with Reason. Let's turn that off. So we're going to put a Note Echo in here. Note Echo in here. And this is a real simple one. So this is all this is going to do is this is just going to take your keyboard, and that's its standard default patch. So this is going to be just a straight transposition. So if you move it up a third or like 3 half steps, then everything you play is going to still be exactly relative to the way you're normally playing, but it's just going to be up three half steps. So let's set that up real quick. So let's just we'll do it that way, +3. Turn the repeats all the way down. We want to turn off this first. Actually, yeah, does it make a difference? Let's see. Okay, so that's just playing a B right now. Let me get that going to be important in a second, but so step length, we want to turn that all the way down, and then let's turn this one off and turn that one on. Yeah, okay, so you have to have that. This is the one you want to turn off. You don't want to turn this one off because this is the one that's doing the work. So turn off this first one. So you see it says D there. Now if I scroll down, you see it's playing an F. And then if you go up, so let's we'll start at a C here. You go up a half step each time. C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, and so on. Everything stays relative. It's a half step on the keyboard. It's going up a half step in the system. And so you can do the same kind of thing. So if I play, I'm not a keyboard player by any stretch of the imagination. So when I do this, I'm just going to be kind of trying to figure out something that sounds kind of good. So So you can see, you know, you just have to, that would be played a very different way. If I didn't have that note echo on, it would, you know, I'm using. So you can see, on this, so this is what I'm playing. You see this chord detector up here. So if you scroll down here, you can see that would be played. It's almost all black keys on the. If I were to play this, if I were to transpose this myself, but so you can see it's kind of forcing me into a physically different position than I would have to play that normally. Now, that's a simple transposition, so that might be useful. That could help force you, especially if you're used to playing in certain shapes. You're just really comfortable with playing certain shapes on the keyboard and you want to move away from that. But you can also do something with, and this is the only one that, the only player that I know of that does this, but there may be others. I'm not really super good with players, but so I created this Delta patch. I just trialed this just so I could see if this works, and it does. And basically what it's doing is it takes every single note and it is transposing it by a different amount. Like each one is going to, so like this one is a C, which is being transposed to a, it's up 3 half steps. So a C would be, let's scroll down here a little bit so I can see what that's actually going in at. So it's a D sharp. And so I did that with kind of randomly chosen intervals for each of these. So each key that I have mapped here is going to be corresponding to a different note than it normally plays. So it's not a simple transposition. So you see that one was C goes to a D sharp. And if I play let's play an F, goes to a G sharp. And if I play let's play a G sharp, if I can figure out what that is, G sharp, it goes to a G. So I think that's right. Yeah, G sharp goes to a G. So it's like, some of them are like the G sharp to a G is just a half step. But then we have other things that are like this one, C sharp, and E is playing a C sharp, and it's actually playing lower. So some of them are actually going down in pitch. So it's like you can play a note like right here. You can see. Oh, let me scroll up. So you see what I'm playing here. I'm playing an F and a G sharp. But when I play the G sharp, it's actually the pitch that's coming out is actually lower than the original note. So what's actually coming out is a G sharp and then a G. So you can see like you can do all this weird stuff. So this is very, I mean, it doesn't play like a normal keyboard at all. Like this is a, if I were to play a C major scale on the keyboard, this is what comes out of playing that. Oh, let me just play that. So you get a very, very, very different kind of physicality to the keyboard when you do something like this. And I'm going to take this patch and I'm going to share the patch with people, so you can download it and play around with it if you like, or you can, if you want to find something that maybe works a little better for you, you can always change these transposition amounts, and just keep in mind you probably want to have it so that you have one key playing a different key, and you want to have one different note for each key that you play, instead of like you don't want to have like missing notes, I guess is what I'm trying to get at. But that said, so let's go back to our actual music here and put this into kind of context. So we're going to go back and we're going to loop this again, and I'm going to do the same kind of thing that I just did and try and find different sounds that can work here, or different chords and notes that can work in this. I can't play chords on the keyboard to begin with, so that's kind of a difficult thing, but you get the idea. So you can really kind of just changing the physicality of what you're used to can have a drastic effect on what you can come up with. And so, I mean, this is obviously a drastic example of that, but it's just to kind of demonstrate that, this is one way that you can force yourself to start using the physicality of what you're doing to push yourself out of that comfort zone and get to a place where you're like doing something a little bit different than you normally would. Now, like I mentioned earlier, it's really, you have your own preferences, you have your own opinions and stuff. So when you do this, you may find that you're still finding similar kinds of note combinations and stuff than you usually do, and that's okay. The point isn't to like go so far astray of what you're used to, that like it sounds foreign. It's to find those weird little differences and use them to move your music in a way that it wouldn't normally go. Um, so again, it's not really trying. You're not gonna overhaul your creative output in the sense that like you're gonna sound like somebody completely different tomorrow than you do today. But what it will do is just help you to get to a place where you're doing something a little different than you normally would, and that's gonna help to make your music a little bit more interesting. So that's pretty much it. Try it out. Not necessarily with the Delta thing. If you don't want to use that, if you don't have it, this is kind of an expensive player. But if you have it, maybe mess around with this patch that I'm going to post and see if you like it, or play around with the settings in there, the transposition number or amounts, and see if you can come up with something that works for you. But yeah, I mean, the basic premise, just change the physicality of what your instrument is doing, and you can help to push yourself out of those kind of creative blocks that might be there. You're going to find different things that you otherwise wouldn't. So again, this is the first of the kind of practical videos, and I will be doing probably a bunch of these. I already have some ideas, like doing some stuff with not tempo. Well, tempo changes would be a good one too, but tempo changes, time signatures, different ways to kind of again push you outside of what you're used to, and practical examples of that. So I'm gonna stop talking now. Go make some music. Later.